Buongiorno, and welcome to Sicily. Sicily is, yes, actually part of Italy, and it is the largest island in the entire Mediterranean. Many people consider Sicily to be the toe of the boot of Italy, but personally, since Italy is such a soccer or football crazed country, I consider it the football that the boot is kicking. So my father and I are going to see as much of Sicily as we can, but we'll start off here in Palermo, and it should be quite an adventure. Here at the port, I thought this was supposed to be their Coast Guard, but it's actually Guardia di Finanza, which is the finance police. So I'm thinking this is actually their customs boats. Here we have the Church of Santa Maria of the Admiral, known for its Byzantine mosaics, and right next to it is the Church of Santa Cataldo, with its iconic three-dome church, built in 1154 in the Norman style. The thing about Sicily is that it's in the middle of the Mediterranean, which means it's been one of the most conquered lands in the world. But with conquerors come food influence. So we're going to take a slight break from traditional Italian or Sicilian food tonight, and we're going to go with a restaurant that has a little Middle Eastern flavor. So, yep, it's right there, and this is actually, it's a Middle Eastern flavor. It's like a biryani, Bangladesh owners. I think it's really good. What do you think?
It's got a hot consistency to it, and I want spaghetti.
Hey, sometimes you gotta get some Italian food. So, all right, the point is there's lots of variety of food and options here, but I can guarantee you we will be having some spaghetti in the future. When stopping for food, I always try to find a place where locals are eating and nothing is in English. And found a place here. All the locals were all ordering their food in Italian, and we got some good pasta. Is this better than last night's meal?
Oh, much better than last night's meal.
All right, there you go. It's dad approved. Here we have the 9th century Norman palace with its neoclassical facade, historic chapel, and even royal apartments. Let's check it out. No royal residence is complete without the royal gardens. All right, we've seen a lot today, so we have. So if you're tired and you want to take a break, we can stop and get some gelato.
We can stop and get gelato regardless. I'm not tired for it.
Sounds like a plan. My, look what we just found. How's your gelato, since you already started eating yours before me?
The gelato is fantastic. We should have this in the States.
I think we should. Sicily is known for their famous cannolis. Before this trip is over, I'm definitely going to try some. Before us is Palazzo Chiaramonte Steri. While it's currently used as a university building, it used to be the prison during the Inquisitions. Let's check it out.
Qualcuno che non capisce l'italiano? Do you understand Italian?
I do understand.
Questa camera si chiama San Rocco, siete devoti, sopra San Pietro, con le in mano, San Paolo, e da questa parte un'altra cartina.
Well, that was definitely an interesting tour. I learned a lot about the Inquisition here in Sicily. Prior to this, I think most of my knowledge of the Inquisition came from Mel Brooks's movie History of the World Part 1, where he just sings about it and says, "The Inquisition, let's begin the Inquisition, goodbye sin." Well, it turns out it was a lot worse than that, and way worse than what that was portrayed in the movie. So yeah, a lot of torture, and they basically tortured anyone that didn't agree with the way they saw things. Basically the 14th century version of ISIS. So the tour was in Italian. The guy did speak a little bit of English, which did help connect the dots. So, but that's what you get. I mean, you're in Italy, so the stuff's gonna be in Italian. So yeah, come check it out. Well, we had a great time here in Palermo. I don't know, I did. How about you?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, like the food, the people, it's amazing, but our time here in Palermo is up, but it doesn't mean our time in Sicily is up. So we're off to other locations in Sicily. Follow along.
Yep, follow along. We're off to see relatives now.
Well, the train is here. I haven't seen any conductors. Today is the 20th of October, and there is a nationwide strike by public transportation workers. So hopefully the train goes. Otherwise, well, just got to be flexible. Well, luckily the trains are going. I guess the train workers decided to show up to work, which is awesome for us. I hope everything works out with the labor dispute, and we get a great view of the Mediterranean Sea behind us as we go to the next destination. Buongiorno. We're now going to change things up a little bit. Instead of visiting some of the bigger cities and tourist sites, we're going to step off the beaten track to two cities, or should I even call them towns, of Coltivatore and Gelato. It's hard to find them on a map, and even harder to find them in any kind of travel guide. It's a chance to explore the local scene where the people live. You won't find tourist attractions, you won't find ticket offices, and people rarely speak English. Now, one of the benefits of these two cities is that not only is it off the beaten track and you get in touch with the local people, but also on my father's side of the family, we happen to have ancestral roots in here. Now, my family came from these towns over 100 years ago, but we're going to get a chance to actually meet the people and really embrace the culture.
By embrace the culture, we mean family and food, the two F's. The family introduced us this really cool fruit called loti, or kaki as the locals call it. It looks like a tomato, but it's a sweet fruit, and it is delicious. Immediately to the west of the town are three key archaeological and historical ruins. Terravecchia is the trace of the old residential center of the town located above the current town. It is possible to admire a beautiful landscape. There are pedestrian paths to allow easy viewing of all the places, including the ruins of the adjacent castle, which is the Castello di Coltivatore. While it is a ruin today, it obviously held an important role centuries ago by the local upper class. There's also an amphitheater. It's exactly what you would expect. Relatively small to other amphitheaters, and served as a meeting point for entertainment and business purposes. What's unique about the castle here, in the amphitheater and Terravecchia, is that there is no ticket required, but rather anyone can go in, check it out, and get as close to it as you want. Whether that be good or bad, just remember, be careful, because you don't want to ruin history. Hey, I did say I was going to get some cannolis, and no cannolis are better than those that are made by family. This is the actual speed we were driving at. Okay, not really, but it sure felt like it, considering the very narrow, small streets that we were winding around. For some reason, I think that we are actually related to Mario Andretti. Okay, probably not, but it sure feels like it. If you saw the Oscar-winning film Cinema Paradiso, you've already been charmed by the former fishing village of Cefalù, now a popular resort. The filmmakers wisely left out the swarm of white-fleshed northern Europeans who roast themselves on its crescent-shaped beach, one of the best along the northern coast, which stretches beneath the tall white houses of the old town. Towering 278 meters above the beach in town is La Rocca, a massive and most photographed crag. The Greeks thought it evoked a head, so they named the village Kephalos, which in time became Cephalou. It's a long, hot, and sweaty climb up to the top of La Rocca, but once there, the view is panoramic, extending all the way to Palermo's skyline to the west, Capo d'Orlando in the east, and across the Medoi Mountains to the south. The key part of the city is Duomo. It's a church anchored on a wide square at the foot of the towering La Rocca. The twin-towered facade of Cefalu's Duomo forms a landmark visible for miles around. Legend has it that Roger II ordered the construction of this mighty church in the 12th century after his life was spared in a violent storm off the coast. In reality, he probably built it to flex his muscles with the papacy and show the extent of his power in Sicily. This being a Norman church, shimmering mosaics in the apse depict Christ as a blonde, not a brunette. In his hand in the Bible, a standard fixture in images of Christ, the Pantocrator, the ruler, with the verse, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness. Did you really think we weren't going to get gelato?
Arrivederci.
A few minutes down the road from Coltivatore is Gelato, and of course we had to see family. Of course, on the way to the restaurant, we saw this really cool lime tree. Oh yeah, but there's fresh seafood, and you know we were going to eat, because we're with family, of course. Great food, and yes, tiramisu. And now we're headed off on to the next adventure. Buongiorno! Here in southern Sicily, near the coast, is the city of Agrigento. It's a small city, but it has a lot of history. Between the years 700 BC and 500 BC, a lot of action was happening here between the Romans and the Carthaginians. They were fighting over it. And in the process, they managed to build 7 temples. And here is the Valley of the Temples. You can see a temple behind me, and in addition to the tourists behind me, there's another temple. That's just 2 of the 5. So this is a cool place, and we're going to check out some of the history. The skeletons of 7 temples of honey-colored stone arranged on a long ridge with commanding views of the sea comprise one of the most memorable sights of the ancient world, the embodiment of classical dignity. Colonists from Crete established Akragas in the 7th century BC, and by the 5th century BC, the city was one of the great Mediterranean powers, with close to 200,000 residents. The city poured part of its enormous wealth into temples erected along a ridge overlooking the sea, their bright pediments becoming well-known landmarks along southern sea routes. Carthage and Rome fought over the city for centuries until Akragas became part of the Roman Empire in 210 BC. Tumbled by earthquakes, plundered for marble, and overgrown from neglect, today the temples are proud remnants of ancient grandeur. Welcome to the southern shores of Sicily. Just a few miles south of Agrigento, we have the opportunity to see San Leone. It's a small beach town that allows you the opportunity to dip your toes into the Mediterranean, get away from all foreign tourists, and just relax as you wind down your trip to Italy. Check out the size of the thorns on this bush. Seriously, these could be weapons. One of the awesome things about these small towns is that they have the local bakeries where you can get these bread things that are stuffed with eggplant and mozzarella. Try the local flavors and definitely don't go to McDonald's. Here we have an example of fine Sicilian craftsmanship and construction. Looks like the building was started and for some reason they stopped and then the wild vines took over. Oh well. Hey, so my dad and I are here on this covered patio on the beach having some food. We got 2 different beers and some focaccia sandwiches. Should be good. Buon appetito. Buon appetito. Hey, you can't come here to Sicily and not go to the beach. So, yeah, I realize I have put on a little weight,
but there's such great Italian and Sicilian food here, so I'll work it off later. Time to go swimming. The great thing about Sicily is that it's an island, and one thing that's common of any island is it's always surrounded by water, and in water you get seafood, fresh seafood. So we're at this local restaurant and we're going to get some fresh seafood because the sea is literally about 30 meters away. Can't get much fresher than that.
Hey son, you said we were going to get an Airbnb near the water, and that it was. But you also said our Airbnb was going to be on the first floor. I don't think it made the first floor.
Well, in the United States, yeah, you'd be correct. But here in Europe, the ground floor is here, and then the first floor, and then the second floor. So if we were back home, this would be the first, this would be the second, and then way up there would be the third. But right here in Europe, that floor which we're on, one flight up, that's the first floor. It's a little different how they do it here in Europe, but yeah, sorry, you had to walk up one flight of stairs.
When in Sicily, do as the Sicilians do.
Exactly.
Poor little guy's all tuckered out.
Well, unfortunately, our time here in Sicily is over, and, as well as Sicily, our time in Italy. So we're about to begin our journey back to Rome, where my dad is going to fly back to the United States, and I'm going to continue on another adventure. Hey everyone, well, this is the part of the trip where we wrap things up, and I had a whole other wrap-up planned, and I actually recorded it, but then something happened. Yeah, as we were getting ready to leave Sicily, we're at the train station, all of a sudden we look up on the screens and we see the word, it was something like incendio, which from my Spanish, usually that means fire. And yeah, you guessed it, there was a fire on the train track, not where we were at, but it still affected the train lines. So our train overnight was delayed 3 hours, which we are back here in Rome now, but it cost my father his flight. We just barely missed the flight, so that just means, hey, an extra bonus night here in Italy. The flight was delayed 24 hours. So yeah, with the train system, definitely, if I could recommend something, don't come back the same day as your flight, even if you have hours to spare, because sometimes, you know, there are delays. So, but hey, we've got an extra day here. We're staying in the Hilton here at the airport. It's very Americanized. We actually just had American food, burger.
Had a hamburger that didn't taste like a hamburger.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, tell me, what'd you think of your first trip here to Italy and Sicily?
The trip was a fantastic trip. I really enjoyed it. However, discovered should have come here 15 to 20 years earlier, so I could keep up the pace. Obviously, at 80, I wasn't able to keep up the pace like I thought I was going to be. But the most amazing part was seeing 2,600 years of Roman history, the churches, the paintings. But the highlight of the trip was going to Sicily and Coltafatoro and visiting the family. We were there a long 3 days, and boy did we eat. In fact, mangia. That's all they kept saying, mangia, and kept bringing the food on. But it was great to see everybody and meet new relatives that I had never met before. And it was a good trip. Thank you, son.
Oh, thank you. And I tell you, you're quite the trooper. I mean, 80 years old. I'd be happy if I can keep up the pace that you did when I'm your age. So
30 more years to go.
I do have a little ways to go. So yeah, now tomorrow, my father will get on a flight, head back to the United States, and I'll be heading on to another adventure. So thanks for following along, and if you have any questions or comments, please put it down below.
See ya.
Arrivederci.